Shut down the excuses, shut down the distractions, shut down every voice in your head that tells you you're not ready, that it's not the right time, that you'll start next week. That kind of thinking has kept you soft. It's why you keep spinning in circles, wishing for change, but never doing what it takes to earn it. You say you want the body. You say you want to transform. But talk is cheap. Focus is expensive. And right now, you're broken both. This isn't a game. This isn't about getting hyped up for a few days and disappearing the moment it gets uncomfortable. You don't get shredded by being interested. You get shredded by being obsessed, by locking in so hard that people wonder if something's wrong with you. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop letting feelings run your day. You wake up tired, you train anyway. You're busy, you meal prep anyway. You're sore, you show up anyway. That's what locking in looks like. That's what transformation demands. Discipline never starts when you're feeling good. It begins when you're tired, uninspired, and filled with reasons not to do the work. That's when it counts. That's when the decision matters. Because when you feel strong, it's easy. When everything's lined up, motivation can carry you, but it's in the uncomfortable, the mundane, the irritating silence where you find out who you really are. The truth is, your body won't change until your excuses die. And most people never kill them. They feed them. They make excuses breakfast. They wear excuses like armor, and then wonder why nothing ever shifts. You want real transformation? Then you have to shut all of it down. The lie that your schedule is too full, shut it down. The idea that your genetics are holding you back, shut it down. The false comfort of believing you'll start next week when things are calmer, when your stress fades, when life feels more manageable, that's the trap. That's the soft thinking that keeps you on repeat. Every day you protect your excuses, you destroy your results. You're building either a body or a story. But you can't build both. That story you keep telling yourself about how hard things are, how tired you feel, how unfair life's been to you, that story is what's killing your growth. It's not the lack of time. It's not the diet confusion. It's not even your busy job. It's that you've gotten good at lying to yourself and calling it realism. Discipline doesn't argue with excuses. It eliminates them. It shows up with full intent, not permission. It doesn't ask how you feel about leg day. It doesn't care how your emotions line up with your macros. It just executes. But here's the truth. You can't execute at that level if your life is full of friction. If your phone owns your attention, if your environment celebrates laziness, if your habits are constantly fighting your goals, you're screwed before you even begin. You need to shut it all down. Clean slate. Burn the broken blueprint. Tear up the weak script. Start from silence and rebuild with purpose. Because trying to build the body you want while living like everyone else is the biggest waste of your time. You don't get in shape by tweaking a few things. You get in shape by flipping the switch. Not halfway, not dabbling, not dipping your toe in. The full flip. The kind where your old self doesn't recognize the new one. You delete the food apps that tempt you. You block the friends who drag you down. You stop listening to influencers who sell shortcuts and 6-minute abs. Shut all of it down. You don't need more options. You need fewer. Options create hesitations. Hesitations create inaction. Inaction builds regret. And regret is the only guaranteed outcome when you live with divided attention. People say they want results, but they live in contradiction. They talk about goals and surround themselves with comfort. They say they want change, but keep sleeping in. They say they want to eat clean, but stock their kitchen like it's a child's birthday party. And then they complain when nothing changes. Of course nothing changes. You're giving yourself a way out every single day. You've built a life that's allergic to intensity, a schedule that rejects structure, a mindset that crumbles under resistance. You don't need new supplements or training splits. You need to wake up to the brutal fact that the only thing between you and the body you want is your tolerance for excuses. The world doesn't care how hard your past was. Your body doesn't care how tired your mind is. Muscle doesn't grow through sympathy. Fat doesn't melt from apologies. The iron has no emotion. The mirror doesn't lie. You can scream about how unfair it all feels, but at the end of the day, you either did the reps or you didn't. You either tracked the food or you didn't. You either woke up early or you didn't. That's it. It's black and white, but we keep trying to live in the gray, where feelings get to override facts, where intentions get more credit than actions, where effort is praised more than results. That's not discipline. That's self-deception wrapped in Instagram quotes. To break free, you have to get extreme, not balanced, not moderate, not reasonable, extreme. People will call you obsessed. Good. Let them. They're supposed to. You don't get extraordinary outcomes with average behaviors. You get them by becoming laser focused. You get them by removing every single thing in your life that doesn't align with the result you want. That might mean training alone. That might mean eating the same meal 6 days in a row. That might mean going to bed early when everyone else is out drinking. And if that sounds miserable to you, then you don't want it bad enough. You want it conveniently, comfortably, casually, which means you won't get it. Shutting it down isn't about being anti-fun. It's about being pro-respect. Respecting your goal enough to not constantly sabotage it. Respecting your body enough to not feed it garbage. Respecting your mission enough to not dilute it with distractions. Every day you say yes to a weak habit is a day you say no to your future. Every compromise compounds. You think one missed meal doesn't matter, one skipped session doesn't count? It all adds up. It's not the one-off moments that break you. It's the system you've built that allows those moments to keep happening. Systems either set you free or bury you slowly. Most people build systems that are soft, systems that rely on motivation, systems that tolerate inconsistency, systems that leave wiggle room for failure. And then they wonder why the change never comes. The change doesn't come because the system was never built to support it. Discipline isn't something you force every day. It's something you design once and protect ruthlessly. You automate your success by eliminating the things that usually pull you off track. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop hanging out in places that drain your edge. You stop thinking you're the exception to the rules. You are not different. You are not special. You are not so uniquely busy, tired, or overwhelmed that you've earned a free pass from self-mastery. That mindset is poison. It tells you that your suffering is the limit. It tricks you into thinking that because life has been hard, you're entitled to softness. You're not. Life owes you nothing. Not a meal plan, not a shortcut, not a round of applause for trying. If you want it, you'll have to rip it out of this world with grit and silence. And the silence is key. Because no one's coming to praise you for waking up early. No one's going to clap because you ate broccoli. You won't get applause for skipping dessert. This is the war you fight alone, with discipline as your weapon and silence as your shield. What does shutting it all down really look like? It looks like rewriting your priorities so aggressively that people think you've changed. It looks like reordering your life so there's no confusion about where your energy goes. It looks like being so unavailable to nonsense that it offends people. Good, let them be offended. They don't have to understand. They're not the ones carrying your regret. You are. And if you don't act now, you'll carry it forever. You shut it all down because it's the only way to hear the truth. The truth that your goals have always been possible. The truth that the reason you failed isn't because you're incapable, but because you've been inconsistent. You've been too busy trying to balance discipline with convenience, and those two forces will never share the same room. One will kill the other. And the longer you let comfort live, the weaker your results become. So what are you really willing to shut down? Are you willing to give up junk that robs your energy? Are you willing to walk away from people who mock your seriousness? Are you willing to trade entertainment for execution? Because that's the cost. Not one time, every time. Every morning, every bite, every set, every decision. That's what it takes. No shortcuts, no side doors, just raw, boring, brutal consistency wrapped in a mindset that refuses to negotiate with weakness. And if you can live like that, even for a few months, everything changes. Your body transforms. Your mindset sharpens. Your confidence rises. Not because someone handed it to you, but because you shut down everything that didn't belong and built yourself from scratch. That's the price. That's the game. And only the disciplined win. Drive requires more than effort. Interest flickers. Fire sustains. Not everybody achieves. Why? Because fascination fades the moment commitment becomes painful, the moment routines tighten, the moment discipline chokes flexibility. That's where most vanish. You see, relentless intensity doesn't negotiate, it consumes. It devours everything that doesn't align. While spectators admire motivation, champions embody obsession. When mediocrity shows its face, you don't debate it, you crush it. That's what it means to lock in. It's not reading quotes. It's not browsing for hacks. It's not switching strategies every few days, hoping something sticks. It's closing every door besides one. Forward. That forward march, it's brutal. No applause, no detours, no shortcuts, only grind, only sweat, only decisions sharpened by obsession, not moods. Those who succeed don't wait until things feel perfect. They impose urgency. They rewire everything, environments, rituals, inputs, around one singular objective. Noise gets eliminated. Distractions become unacceptable. Weakness receives no consideration. This isn't about being inspired. This is about becoming possessed with precision. So severe, your own shadow would fear hesitating. Casual attention won't build anything worthwhile. Dabbling won't elevate you. Dipping toes into ambition while clinging to indulgence only guarantees failure. But those who lock in, they turn off the world. They vanish from mediocrity's radar. They aren't posting about hustle. They're too deep in it. They skip gossip. They ignore cravings. They give zero oxygen to anything subtracting momentum. Want isn't enough. Need isn't either. What transforms everything is demand, internal, unshakable demand, a self-created standard so towering that the slightest deviation feels like betrayal, not to anyone else, to yourself. It's a vow between you and your legacy, unbreakable. You train not because you must, but because missing feels like suffocating. That's what locking in feels like. Nothing else matters. Progress under this mindset isn't linear. It's exponential. Because while others miss days, you stack wins. While others require cheering, you build in silence. While others seek hacks, you sharpen systems. And eventually, your results scream so loudly people ask what your secret is, but there is none. Only isolation, intensity, and internal standards that make average feel like death. Focus at this level isn't a mood. It's a shield. It protects everything you're building. You guard it like your life depends on it. Because it does. Not literally, but spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. Your potential rots when diluted, so you isolate. Not forever, but long enough to reset your identity. You spend seasons removing, eliminating, discarding, detaching. Not from joy, but from drift. Everything unnecessary becomes offensive. The late night scrolling, the double-booked weekends, the half-effort training, even conversations drain you if they're not moving the needle. If you're not ready to be removed, to isolate, to reduce, then the vast majority of you aren't rude. You're focused. There's a difference. But people won't get it. They'll say you've changed. Good. You should. The previous version of you couldn't build what you're after. That version was soft, scattered, diluted. You needed this one. Cold, calculated, centered. The plan doesn't require a variety. It requires volume. Repetition isn't boring. It's a weapon. The sharper you execute routines, the more automatic excellence becomes. You don't chase novelty. You master fundamentals. Mastery feels monotonous to outsiders, but to you, it's sacred. Every meal planned, every lift accounted, every recovery day executed flawlessly. This isn't overtraining. This is over-dedicating. The people who win aren't different genetically. They're different mentally. They treat discipline like oxygen. They never miss. Not because they're superheroes, but because they removed every excuse in advance. Their identity and behavior are welded. No gap. No internal conflict. They said they'd do it, so they do. Regardless of weather, energy, temptation, loneliness, criticism, there's no off switch. no pause button. Because obsession doesn't need balance. It thrives in focus. Balance is for maintenance. Obsession is for creation. And if you're still building, you can't afford moderation. Moderation is earned later, after dominance, after excellence, after you've proven your ability to endure sacrifice long enough to deserve variety. Until then, repetition remains your religion. You'll scare people, not through arrogance, but through intensity. You'll outlast their attention spans, you'll ignore invitations, you'll cancel obligations, you'll skip gatherings. Not to be antisocial, but because you've chosen to be foundation, you're reconstructing yourself, and that takes isolation. They won't understand it. Let them wonder. You're not doing it for their applause anyway. You're doing it because you said enough. Enough of mediocrity. Enough of failing silently. Enough of hoping transformation would magically happen while you live like everyone else. You're done playing in the middle. Now you're deep in the arena, bleeding, sweating, grinding, evolving, and you'd rather be misunderstood chasing greatness than praise for staying average. Eventually, pain becomes process. The soreness becomes satisfying. The solitude becomes sacred. The early mornings, invigorating. The planning, empowering. The heavy sets, meditative. The sacrifices, no longer burdens. They're badges, because every trade, every refusal, every moment you gave something up, you got stronger, not just physically, mentally. You became forged. Obsession doesn't tolerate deviation, not during this phase. You treat time like currency. You guard energy like treasure. Your mind becomes weaponized. Nothing penetrates your focus. You walk into gyms like battlegrounds. You approach meals like rituals. You review progress like data. Everything feeds the goal. Everything else dies. You're not chasing balance, you're harvesting greatness. That takes tunnel vision. Most never get here. They flinch, they fold, they bail when things get inconvenient. They mistake discomfort for danger. They confuse discomfort with damage. But the obsessed, they lean in harder. When it burns, they smile. When it's late, they dig deeper. When sleep calls, they push anyway. Because every second under pressure is another inch closer to dominance. Obsession demands systems, calendars, structures, boundaries. You craft schedules with surgical precision. Sleep gets scheduled, meals are non-negotiable, training slots are sacred. Your life stops spinning randomly. It's directional now, intentional, and each element feeds every other. When food's right, energy's sharp. When sleep's locked, recovery accelerates. When lifts explode, confidence compounds. It's a feedback loop fueled by obsession. You don't get this sharp by accident. You get it by eliminating softness. No more maybe later. No more, I'll see how I feel. No more just this once. Everything becomes binary. You did or you didn't. You showed up or you flaked. You pushed or you coasted. It's ruthless, yes, but it works. And right now, you don't need comfort, you need certainty. You stop saying yes out of guilt. You stop explaining your routines. You stop apologizing for seriousness. This isn't a phase. This is a lifestyle. If they don't get it, they can't stop you. If they don't support it, they can't slow you. They weren't lifting your weights. They weren't eating your meals. They weren't enduring your cravings. So they don't get a vote in how you operate. The obsessed keep receipts. Not of purchases. Promises made, promises kept. That's the scoreboard. Daily compliance, not streaks, systems. Not motivation, mechanisms. Every morning is automated. Alarms aren't snoozed. Meals aren't skipped. Sets aren't cut short. Every promise is a contract. Break it and something dies inside. Keep it and something powerful awakens. Eventually, obsession replaces identity. It doesn't feel like effort anymore. It feels like normal, like truth, like oxygen. You don't chase excellence. You breathe it. Others wake up wondering what to do. You already did it. Others contemplate what's next. You're executing while they ponder. And while they're still stuck explaining their delays, you're already 10 steps ahead. You stopped waiting for perfect conditions. You stopped romanticizing balance. You stopped idolizing flexibility. You've replaced those ideas with one singular law: forward motion, uninterrupted. That law governs every decision, every adjustment, every priority. You no longer need reward. The process itself is reward. The consistency becomes comfort. The structure becomes freedom. You become lethal, not just physically, mentally. Your mind, once scattered, is now a scalpel. Every minute has intention. Every action has purpose. Every decision is vetted against your mission. And because of that, you rise while others remain. Not because you're better, because you locked in harder, longer, louder, and never flinched. Eventually, you arrive at a moment where energy alone isn't enough. Fire burns out, hype fades fast, surface-level desire evaporates under consistent pressure. Without deeper purpose, nothing survives discipline's demands. You realize reward only arrives after a price far greater than anyone tells you. That price? Not effort, not interest, not excitement. Sacrifice. Every result you've envied, every physique you've admired, was sculpted by fewer comforts, fewer distractions, less indulgence, less escape. Hard-earned change requires trading pleasures most aren't willing to surrender. You can't feast like royalty while sculpting like a warrior. The equation never balances. Wanting doesn't build abs. Giving up does. The pursuit demands quitting hundreds of small things most keep justifying. Sleeping late, skipping movement, ordering convenience, entertaining junk disguised as fuel, consuming noise instead of clarity. Comfort erodes progress, not instantly, but always. Each indulgence drags performance down incrementally. By the time consequences appear visibly, the damage already happened. Invisible first, permanent later. Every great transformation begins with a funeral, burying patterns that used to define you. It's emotional, it feels personal, but without mourning previous versions of yourself, you never unlock new potential. You keep dragging old narratives through fresh seasons, hoping change will honor both. It won't. Greatness punishes comfort. The only way forward is through calculated sacrifice. You won't always get applause for doing what's required. You won't receive standing ovations for eating meals your peers mock. They'll question your seriousness. They'll misunderstand your priorities. They'll assume your effort is excessive. That's fine. They're not on your journey. They don't understand cost because they never attempted payment. Excellence charges full price upfront, non-refundable, non-negotiable. There's no subscription for results, no rent-to-own body, no payment plans. It's all in or nothing. Either you give what's necessary or you continue recycling mediocrity. Sacrifice. Real sacrifice means walking away from options that weaken your standard. Parties, escapes, cravings, trends. The longer you resist real cost, the longer you delay real change. Yes, hunger arrives, fatigue follows, isolation deepens, progress tests patience constantly. But sacrifice isn't pain. It's proof. Proof that your vision overpowers temporary impulses. Proof that you can delay gratification longer than most. Proof that you'd rather feel temporary discomfort than permanent disappointment. That's the gap few bridge. Not talent, not luck. Just traded comfort consistently. No one escapes this process. Not champions, not coaches, not competitors. Everyone you see ahead of you sacrificed more than they advertised. You never see the skipped vacations, missed celebrations, empty holidays. Quiet pain behind loud discipline. Because sacrifice isn't aesthetic, it's internal. It doesn't photograph well, but it shapes everything externally. Simplicity often terrifies people because it reveals one hard truth. This is a choice. Not a mystery, not genetics, not magic. You either surrender unnecessary behaviors or stay trapped under them. Choosing repeatedly defines outcomes, not once. Every hour, each decision stacks, either reinforcing excellence or reinforcing excuse. Never neutral, always directionally compounding. Think back. How many times did you say you'd start? How often did you say this time would be different, but still allowed the same patterns to stay present? Nothing changes if nothing's removed. Want to create space for growth? Cut what's weighing you down, not just physically, emotionally, digitally, socially. You can't plant new results in toxic soil. This path is ruthless to indecision. Flirting with commitment delivers nothing. Half trying produces half results. You either dominate routines or routines dominate you. Whether you rise early or not. Whether your meals fuel recovery or harm performance. Whether your sleep restores or destroys. Those hours pass regardless. Whether you lead them or waste them decides everything. This life rewards clarity. Blurred lines get trampled. Intentions mean nothing here, only application. Daily action either honors the person you're becoming or strengthens the person you're trying to forget. One rises, one returns. You choose which version shows up through sacrifice, consistently, quietly, without witnesses, without applause, without permission. Even when storms hit, principles remain. Especially during adversity, sacrifice sharpens identity. When chaos strikes, it reveals where discipline actually lived. Was it convenient, or was it carved into your operating system? Weakness always exposes itself under stress. So does strength. Only one endures. Only one performs, regardless of circumstance. Ruthless commitment outlasts convenience, because convenience never lasts. Motivation fades. Comfort shifts. Environment changes. Friends leave. Routines break. But inner resolve, earned through endless personal cost, anchors behavior. It becomes law. Not suggestion. Not idea. Not theory. Law. Immutable. Untouchable. That's where real results emerge. From behavioral laws reinforced through repeated cost. You have to understand, shortcuts never last. Hacks decay. Magic methods erode. Every popular solution promising ease evaporates under time, but remains. Sacrifice. The boring, painful, silent choices no one markets because they aren't sexy. They're sustainable. They build resilience, not just results, because ultimately, without resilience, nothing sticks. And resilience is built through sacrifice, not hype. When the world's distracted, you remain dialed in. When everyone's celebrating mediocrity, you build alone. When silence stretches and it feels like nothing's working, you keep applying pressure, not because it's easy, because it's essential. Because quitting dishonors everything you've already endured. Because sacrifice without persistence becomes wasted suffering. You don't need louder music. You need deeper why. You don't need another coach. You need brutal honesty. Ask yourself, what are you really willing to give? Not what sounds inspiring, what actually gets removed. How many behaviors still contradict your stated goals? Until that number drops to zero, don't expect anything permanent. This journey is subtraction before addition. Sacrificing noise builds space for clarity. Sacrificing indulgence builds room for structure. Sacrificing convenience builds opportunity for precision. Every single great transformation begins first by deleting, then replacing, then reinforcing. That's the sequence. Skipping steps ruins the formula. Every shortcut breaks under stress. Your mind must endure before your body responds. Doubt hits early. Fatigue hits often. Hunger whispers constantly. You'll crave softness. You'll question your pace, but you continue anyway. That's sacrifice, not perfection. Persistence despite pressure, showing up despite storms, executing despite zero praise. That's the energy that rewrites identity. Nothing in this process works without sacrifice. You can't carry comfort into a battlefield. You can't cling to options while claiming discipline. This isn't about being strict occasionally. It's about becoming forged permanently. That requires giving up everything that makes your old life comfortable and replacing it with systems that make your future self unstoppable. You might feel alone. That's normal, because greatness isn't crowded. It's isolating. But isolation isn't punishment. It's preparation. Solitude sharpens resolve. Without constant input from others, your internal voice grows louder, stronger. You begin leading yourself, not through emotion, through non-negotiable structure. Sacrifice teaches that. Not content, not trends. Repetition without recognition does. Stay there. Stay in that quiet grind where every day feels the same, where you doubt if progress exists, where results delay. Stay there. Because that's where strength is born. Not just physically, mentally, psychologically. That's where sacrifice becomes transformation. That's where the old you dies and doesn't come back. Keep paying the price over again until pain normalizes, until sacrifice becomes identity, until choices no longer feel difficult, until your life becomes your standard, not something you're trying to achieve, but something you now live. At that point, motivation doesn't matter anymore, because who you are now cannot return to who you were. All that grinding, all that restructuring, every reshaped standard, it leads to one moment. A quiet, heavy realization. You're the only variable. You're the only answer. You're also the entire obstacle. No more blaming situations, timelines, schedules, support systems, or lack of them. Truth arrives carrying no pity. That truth? Rescue isn't real. Waiting around doesn't bring solutions. Progress doesn't walk through the door uninvited. Nothing arrives without war. That war waged inside. One alone. Proving yourself isn't occasional. It's required constantly. Not once. Not during New Year's highs or seasonal bursts. Every calendar flip brings fresh pressure, but it won't carry you past weak tendencies. Execution beats inspiration every time. Anyone can plan, anyone can strategize, very few repeat. Repetition without guarantees, there lies the barrier. Most don't cross it. They want certainty, they crave permission. But this game respects neither. It listens only to outcomes. Force your patterns forward without reassurance. Fight through those moments when everything feels pointless, when outcomes stall, when energy dips. That's your test. Not how you act when people cheer, but how you respond when everything inside whispers, give up. That's where strength either fractures or builds bone deep. No speeches help, no followers fix that. Self-respect grows in absence of feedback. Delivering each standard silently, without witness, forges something external applause never grants. You get better by building under pressure, without visibility, without credit, by becoming someone who honors their words so precisely, deviation disgusts them. You've got to act like nobody's coming to reward you, because they aren't. The crowd won't validate your macros. Strangers won't praise your sleep schedule. Nobody claps when you prep chicken for the 6th day straight. If recognition motivates you, this path destroys you. Forget fantasy. This is reality, hardwired through daily discipline. Making promises at midnight, then keeping them at dawn. Holding yourself accountable through weather, through chaos, through silence. Choosing what matters when everything else is screaming for your attention. Sacrifice without acknowledgement. That's where the real ones separate themselves. They no longer require reminders. Their reflection demands excellence. And that's enough. Some wait forever for mentors, handouts, magical systems, or perfect moments. Years slip by, nothing changes. Conditions never align. You must decide that help isn't coming. Not because you aren't worth it, but because growth requires ownership. Full, brutal, total. The second you take full ownership, everything shifts. Control returns. Direction becomes intentional. Dependency dies. Movement begins. That internal voice must evolve. From excuse machinery to responsibility weapon. From soft stories into sharp statements. Thoughts direct trajectory. You aren't stuck. You're undisciplined. You aren't plateauing. You're inconsistent. Accepting that unlocks potential faster than any program. Honesty without buffer cuts deeper, yes, but pain without lies fuels real change. You don't need comfort, you need clarity. Ownership feels heavy, but it's freeing. Suddenly, you're not waiting, you're initiating. You're not observing, you're adapting. That mindset doesn't fear struggle, it expects it. Most people dread pressure. You welcome it, because pressure creates depth. It hardens commitment. It reveals whether you're truly about what you say you are or just good at pretending. There's nothing noble about avoiding responsibility. Nothing courageous about drifting. Real courage is facing your own habits and changing them. Not with big declarations, but with subtle, repetitive reinforcement. Nobody sees those inner battles. Nobody tracks the small wins. But those minor decisions, they build future outcomes. They become identity. If you can't prove it today, you won't prove it tomorrow. Every delay trains your system to tolerate mediocrity. Handle your blueprint, nobody else will. Results don't arrive through wishes. They arrive through work. Meticulous, aggressive, relentless. That's what proving it daily means. Waking early not because it's trendy, but because it keeps promises intact. Tracking metrics without shortcuts. Training without compromise. Fueling without failure. It's not punishment. It's proof. Proof that you govern yourself. Nobody builds confidence through ease. You build confidence by doing what you said when no one would blame you for skipping, by maintaining precision even when progress crawls, by not needing energy to earn momentum. The body you seek doesn't care about your excuses, only your repetitions. Either you execute or you don't. Nothing else matters. You can't hide behind intentions. Too many talk loudly, perform softly. They memorize the language, they know the trends, they act inspired, but when sweat becomes involved, they shrink. Not you. You're done shrinking. You understand this process isn't flashy, it's ugly, it's lonely, it's repetitive, but it works. Day by day, quietly, until the compound returns explode. Keep showing up, especially when you don't feel like it. That's where the elite are made, not when it's easy. Not when sleep is perfect and food tastes great. No, when things suck. When everything's inconvenient. When every part of you says, take it easy. That's the signal to go harder. That moment decides everything. Nobody will drag you across the finish line. Nobody gives greatness. Nobody hands over strength. The climb remains yours. And the higher you go, the more resistance you'll face. From within, from peers, from doubt. But resistance proves alignment. If you weren't getting closer, it wouldn't show up. Keep pushing, because those who quit never realize how close they were. Don't just aim for physical progress. Build inner fire so strong that quitting disgusts you. That's how legacies are formed. Not by motivation, but by rewriting how you respond under tension. When doubt enters, you act anyway. When fatigue builds, you press harder. Each refusal becomes a weapon. Each small victory fuels larger ones. This discipline isn't built through shortcuts. You carve it through suffering, through missing comforts, through ignoring temptations, through being consistent without applause. There's no magic coming, no celebrity program, no app saves you. You save yourself through repetition, through sacrifice, through presence, through purpose, through choosing the difficult over the easy again and again and again. When failure comes knocking, don't look outward, look inward. Find the habits you let slip, the routines you compromised, the actions you postponed, and fix them swiftly. No blame, no drama, just correction. Just recalibrate, press forward. That's what proving it looks like. Never perfection, always persistence. Sustainability isn't passive. It's fierce. It's guarded. It's practiced. You don't maintain momentum by coasting. You build guardrails. You forecast danger. You anticipate relapse. You create buffers. You schedule tightly. You eliminate guesswork. That's discipline. Boring? Maybe. But boredom builds bodies, not excitement. Choose fire over fluff. Choose rituals over randomness. Choose structure over stories. Most avoid discomfort. You seek it, because within that discomfort lives everything you've ever wanted. The strength, the muscle, the confidence, the respect. All hidden behind days nobody notices. The only ones who win are the ones who keep moving anyway. Each morning, recommit. Each night, reflect. Don't drift through time hoping change appears. Wreck every hour. Shape every choice. The truth is, proving yourself isn't optional. It's essential. Until you stop treating this like a phase and start owning it like a mission, results will dodge you. Nothing comes easy, but everything becomes possible once you finally stop waiting. This journey was never about motivation. It was never about hype, convenience, or luck. It was always about what you were willing to shut out, how far you were willing to lock in, what you were truly willing to give up, and how hard you were willing to go without anyone clapping. No handouts, no shortcuts, no saviors. Just you, your grit, and a decision you made every single morning to outlast weakness, to bury distraction, to outwork doubt. You don't earn the body you want by talking about it. You earn it in silence. You earn it through pain. You earn it through discipline so ruthless, even your excuses give up. And once you understand that no one's coming, that it's all on you, everything changes. Not just your body, your identity. Now go prove it daily, without fail, because this time you're not hoping for transformation. You're building it with your bare hands,